Saturday. Welcome to the Paradigm Shift, episode 55. Be patient, just waiting for my partner in crime, the articulate alligator, the sex dinosaur, the sex zebra, Big Bad Dave Meltzer, to hop on. See, the problem is this. This guy wakes up every single morning, has a couple of handsome sandwiches. It's gonna make me look like a chump right now, but it is what it is. There's always a price to pay to put out unbelievable content. What's up, Jason? I see you on there, brother. We're gonna bring you on in less than five. Bree in the house, no big deal. Essie, Juicy Joelle in the Big Apple, Sea Frogs, no problem. Junior, everybody's out today. Monica, let's bring on Big Dave. And let's get this party started. You handsome hamster. Sex turtle. You laughing?
I'm so happy to be here, man.
You are?
Oh yeah.
Honestly,
So got in late last night from the Masters and had my football executive talk with Mike Tannenbaum from ESPN, and now I'm on with the man himself, the guy who cannot keep his shirt buttoned, Craig Siegel. What's up?
How many handsome sandwiches did you consume this morning?
I was all at the Masters. We got the pimento and cheese sandwich, the chicken salad sandwich, the barbecue sandwich, all for $1.50 at the Masters. So I got lots of sandwiches in me.
How was the Masters? What was your favorite takeaway besides having a great time?
So my favorite takeaway, it's really interesting that you asked, because I've been 25 years and it's the first time I took my 12-year-old son, Miles, who you know, and Julie, my wife. And I don't normally go in for that much. I try to provide a bucket list with hospitalities, parties, and getting people into the Masters to experience something like none other. And I spent 3 straight days, Wednesday, Thursday, and then Friday, in watching golf. Right, and it's difficult for me because I like to be productive, accessible. I repeat, accessible and gracious with my time. And when you're in the Masters, there's no phones, so it makes it very difficult to be accessible if you have to check your phone in. So on Friday, I asked my son if he would like to go in again, and I usually don't go in that many days, and he's like, yes, I would. And I said, well, why don't you go in with Jake then, because I have my training. I had everything on Friday. Say again?
And by Jake, you mean Jakey Bakey.
Yeah, Jakey Bakey. So I said, why don't you go with Jake? And he's like, well, and he hesitated. He's like, no, it's okay. I don't want to go. And it clicked in my head. I'm like, oh, you want to go, but you want to go with me. And I'm about to make a mistake that I've made in the past that I don't want to make moving forward, not having my non-negotiable priorities, right? My health, I ran every morning. I got my hour in on my health, meditated, ate right, did all those things. But my family comes next. Accessibility to my family is more important than the accessibility to the activity I get paid for, which is my third non-negotiable. So I immediately decided to switch everything around and go in with just me and Miles. And that was the highlight, to have, just because he was in with me every time, but it was with everybody else, right? It was just me and him, no phones, no emails, no distractions, just 3.5, 4 hours of conversation, continual conversation, walking with Tiger, teaching him about the intricacies of sports and sports marketing and golf. Man, it was the greatest of all even the Super Bowl, on the 50-yard line front row that we got to do. That, it's quiet, right? So we have a full conversation, walked about 5 miles together, and I'll never forget that time that I spent with Miles. And I just blown away that I almost missed it.
I felt so enlightened to ask you this question today, and now we know why. Like, just the way that you're speaking about this gets you a little bit emotional because you created a memory that will last forever.
Yeah, it's and there is a difference between what do they say? Traditions and memories. And memories are something that maybe you only get to do once. Traditions are things that you get to do again and again. And I love to make that a tradition, to at least be able to spend 4 hours with my son, without any phone, without any crowds, loud crowd, just unbelievable memory that I'll never forget, this trip that we just got
That's
back.
all. Hell yeah, good for you. Love you. Sounds like a great time. And also, in case the audience wasn't aware, I'll break the news right now. The Paradigm Shift has gotten greenlit for Apple TV. We will begin filming. It is not, just to be clear, it is not Craig Siegel featuring Dave Meltzer. It is Craig the Eagle and the sex giraffe, Dave Meltzer. And I couldn't be more take this show to the next level.
I didn't know that giraffes had sex, but that's amazing.
I love you. We're going to bring on our guest in just a minute. In the meantime, I have a good question for you. When we're younger, at least for me personally, I used to seek validation in more immature ways, right? Like looking good at the gym or making a lot of money or what people thought about. Obviously, now it's a lot different. Making an impact, contributing, someone saying, wow, your content really spoke to me. At this season right now, Dave, how do you seek validation?
Internally, right? I do daily practices. Those daily practices allow me to assess through my purpose and my thoughts about my purpose. So the thoughts about my purpose are my purpose. The thoughts about my purpose are forgiveness and love. I'm constantly evaluating internally how I am enjoying that consistent, persistent pursuit of forgiveness and love, of my perfection, of my potential. And so, part of that evaluation is how much time, energy, emotion am I spending on things or people that bleed me? How much time, emotion, or value am I giving to things that are separating me? How much time, value, or emotion am I wasting? And that evaluation, it's non-judgmental, it lacks conditions, but it's simply in the pursuit of my potential that I'm looking to get in the next day, better causes to effectuate productivity, accessibility, and gratitude. So I don't look outside of me for anything that I want outside of me. I look inside of me for all that I want outside of me.
Absolutely love it and absolutely love you. I love you so much. It's concerning. I'm going to bring on our guest right now. I know that you acknowledged early in the conversation that you did, in fact, wake up and have a couple handsome sandwiches. But I'm also curious, how many sex snacks did you have?
Only Julie.
How many?
Only Julie. I'm a monogamous man.
There he is. What's up, Jason?
Hey, do I get like a turtle, an eagle, or a giraffe monitor?
You will.
I want something sexy.
The juicy juggernaut, Jason Harris. Thank you so much for joining us, brother. I'm a fan. For the audience that might not be familiar, he's a best-selling author and founder of Mechanism. We're going to have some fun today. We're going to drop some gems and get a little weird. Thank you for stopping by, brother.
I like it. I like the weird. I love, congrats on the paradigm shift, by the way. That's great news, man.
Thank you so much, buddy. Are you in New York?
I am in New York, yeah.
In Manhattan?
Tribeca.
We're practically neighbors, 5 minutes down the road.
Where are you?
I'm on the East River.
Oh, awesome. All right. Yeah. Maybe we'll do an in real life situation.
I would love that.
And you can see the juggernaut in person, And I can see how tall the giraffe is and how you mate.
I love it.
I love that master story though. That was awesome. That was a great story.
Yeah.
I'm always trying to create with my children sort of recurring, like basically recurring things that we do to keep in the memory banks, whether it's the same trip every year or we do Sunday nights writing in the journal, just trying to keep those kind of habitual practices going, because I think those stick long term. And I love that master story might be an annual or every other year kind of thing for you.
Yeah. You mentioned story, Jason, because you're really big on storytelling, and it's really good for the audience to hear. Why is storytelling so impactful in your opinion?
Well, storytelling, I'm an ad man. So in my business, to build brands, when you build great brands, you don't build those through ads, you build those through stories. And stories have a purpose and they have a soul. ads just have, buy a product or service. And so I really started understanding storytelling through really honing my craft in advertising. And then I realized, when you communicate and you connect with other people, you do that through story. Logic and data go in one ear and out the other, numbers, facts, but stories stick. The story we just heard about the Masters, or a story that you're going to talk about maybe on Paradigm Shift. Those stories stick, and those are what are in the memory. It's the mind is a story processor, not a logic processor. And so thinking about stories to connect with other people has been very useful, and thinking about stories throughout your life when you're trying to make a point. I always believe in, journaling. I'm a big journal guy, so I'll probably say that like 7 times. But journaling is really important, to think about stories that impacted your life and how you can express to others to get to know you more through your life stories. And really thinking about those and having them handy is very useful in connecting with other people.
And Dave, one of the most valuable things that you told me amongst the many is you always say, Craig, stories and lessons.
Yeah, life's about lessons. The lessons keep on coming until you learn them. The best way to learn a lesson is through a story. And the reason that stories are so impactful is because they make you feel a certain way. See, if I just tell you a lesson, be more interested than interesting, or just because someone loves you doesn't mean they give you good advice. Before we finish this paradigm shift episode, nobody will remember. If I say, what are those 2 lessons I told you? Nobody will remember it. But if I tell a story to make you feel a certain way about, for example, how my mom told me when I graduated law school not to take the job in the internet to be a real lawyer, to be a real litigator, because, is doctor, lawyer, a failure. And some of you may feel that pressure from your parents about being a doctor, a lawyer, engineer, or loser. But I actually remember my mom telling me the internet's a fad. Nobody will ever do research on the internet.
Oh,
yeah, nobody will ever do so when you tell a story around it, now nobody will remember the first lesson I said. You may have already forgotten the first lesson I said, but everybody will remember now the story about my mom saying the internet's a fad, and they'll relate it to a way they feel when somebody tells them that loves them a lesson that's ridiculous, because just because someone loves you doesn't mean they give you good advice. So the way we feel, as Maya Angelou always said, no one's gonna remember what you say, they'll remember how they felt. Stories are the bridge from the lessons to how you feel. If you can make someone feel or connect to you inspirationally, if you can get that connectivity emotionally, people buy on emotion for logical reason. As the expert, the ad man next to me, the sex jaguar, Jason, you will know. You will know what we're talking about. So I'm like you, I journal, and Craig knows this. One of the first lessons I talk about speaking and interviewing and being interviewed is you got to have a journal of lessons and stories tied to the lessons.
Yeah, that's so funny you said that about your mom, because also I love jaguars. So you really nailed that. Jaguars are goddamn sexy animals.
Yeah, they are.
They are more sexier than a giraffe.
But way more sexier. I'm not even sure giraffes have sex.
I mean, how do they reproduce? They just
I don't know.
I
think they're one of those animals that reproduce themselves. There's a few on Earth. I think they just reproduce themselves.
They do something with their neck is involved.
Well, their tongues are like this long. Their tongues are like this long.
Oh man!
I French kissed a giraffe, and if no one believes me, I will post the picture from Africa. I literally French kissed a giraffe.
Oh my god! So
now, message Dave right after and say you want to see that photo.
Oh my god, that's amazing! See, now I forgot what I learned about your mom.
Yeah, you were saying
the internet. Now I just remember how long a giraffe's tongue.
But you had a similar experience.
Oh yeah, so my parents, I knew it at a really young age. I don't know if you knew you wanted to go into sports marketing at a young age, but when I was like 14, I would watch those ads in between the shows I was watching, and I'd be like, someone does that for a living. Like, I want to do that. That was way before social media. So even as a young kid, I knew I wanted to go into advertising. Mikey Likes It, Lego My Ego. Those were all like influential to me. And my mom was like, that's not a real job. You gotta get, yeah, exactly. Just like the internet. And you
Yeah.
said, no one makes a real living in advertising, and that's not really contributing to the world. You need to major in something like be a lawyer or a doctor. I finally majored in economics, which was a struggle. I was doing like stat classes, stuff that, I you're not going to really apply unless you go into like the Bureau of Labor Statistics or, some
Or
political.
even worse, Siri can just answer for you in 2 seconds.
Yeah, yeah. Siri would have helped a lot in college, but I did it for my parents, and then as soon as I was out of school, I forgot all that logic and information went in one ear and out the other, and I started trying to find my way into advertising as soon as I got out of school. And so I think as when you're younger, you kind of do take advice from your parents or others, and it's not always the right advice because internally I knew where I wanted to go, but I took other people's advice, which took me down a different trip. And so it's always really important when you talk about like that validation comes from the inside. Your gut knows what to do, and we've got to turn the gut up and the other voices down, and that's really important.
Craig, I got to add one thing to this because the caveat is too. I still listen to my mom, right? I treat her advice like a handful of sand. I'm appreciative that she cares so much about me that she'll give me her opinion. But most of the advice that I get, if you're not sitting in a situation I want to be in, if you don't know the directions on how to get me there, then I'm going to let your advice like a grain of sand just pass through my fingers. But I think out of appreciation of adding value to your life, that the people closest to us that we love the most, give them the ability to explain what their opinion is and ask questions, be more interested than interesting, why. And then when it's not aligned with what you want, go ahead and say, thank you so much for caring about me and telling me the internet's a fad. And then go ahead and do what you want to do and find someone who actually does sit in the situation you want to be in and ask them for directions, not the person that's never been there.
Bang! This just got awesome.
Damn, that's amazing. Let me ask you guys a question.
Sure.
What about when because David, you give a lot of great advice, which I listen to actually.
Thank you.
How do you feel when you give advice and you see people kind of not following your advice, just like you didn't follow your mom's advice? How does that make you feel?
I have a terrible need to be offended. And when I lived, yeah, and so when I lived in the ignorant arrogance that I actually knew what the F I'm talking about, all I can do is explain to people how I got to where I'm at and my opinion of how I got to where I'm at. What you do with it is up to you. So when I see people that don't listen to me, I actually do two things. One, I tell myself, don't be offended, don't care. And then two, what can I learn from it? I don't care what other people think or do. I want to learn from what they think or do, because believe it or not, if they don't take my advice, it may be because they have a different spin or a better way to get to where I want to be. So I'll ask them, hey, what are you doing then? If this doesn't work for you, what is working for you? Now I'm just building my arsenal. And once again, I'm not taking back their advice. And if it resonates with me, and resonation is that feeling, then I'm going to start delving a little deeper and saying, wow, I can't tell you how many things I said that aren't true. Right. But yet they teach lessons, even though what I say may not be true for you or Craig. You guys can learn from it and get to a better place, a better situation, or make your situation better by not listening to my advice if you have the right mindset about advice.
I love that. And you're sort of like, you got the gut, you got the head and the heart, and you're trying to figure out, your next move. You take all this information and data points from other people and advice and research, et cetera. Then ultimately you pick the thing that is right for you. But that advice, someone's advice will nail it on the head for you, right? It'll be like a connection, and you'll be like, that's the right advice. And that's the path you go down. Yeah. But it's sort of just getting other information to make your decision.
I got to add one more thing to that too. Yeah. As speakers and authors, etc., I think it's important. I always started a lot of my speeches by saying, hey, get a pen, a paper, a pad, whatever you're using, a laptop, but don't there's two types of people when you speak, and you guys have seen this. There's people that think they're going to remember everything you say, and they don't write or codify anything. And then there's the other people that are even worse, that write down everything you say or try to write down everything you say. I always tell people, only write down the lessons that resonate with you. If you're feeling like, shit, I should do that. And I do this when I coach people. Best advice that I get is usually the ones that are coming through me when I'm coaching someone. And I say to myself, man, that's really good advice, Dave. You should really practice that yourself. And then I'll write it down in my own coaching session because it resonates with me. So I think you were talking about the mind, the heart, and the stomach. If those things are aligned, write that sucker down or codify it, whatever mechanism, technology you use, but create a system to access those lessons. Don't just write down everything or nothing. You're going to get nowhere.
Yeah, that's really valuable for the audience. That guys, write down what sticks and resonates with you, and let the rest go. That's totally fine.
Yeah, because I think when you're listening, you know, I'm going to get a pen and paper out for the paradigm shift. I'll tell you that much. I'm going to be writing that down. But if you write too much, it all gets lost. If you don't write it, you don't remember it. You got to write down the 2 or 3 salient things that will stick with you, so that you can pick those up, and that becomes your practice. And I think that's great advice.
Yeah, this is awesome. We'll end the plane with this. Jason, one thing that you said that I think Dave is going to really appreciate as well is playing the long game and not being transactional all the time. Dive in on that. You juggernaut.
Right. Oh man, you cracked me up. Yeah,
He landed the plane.
I like this thing that you know. One thing I got from David is that, you know, everything's a practice, right? And you can develop habits by doing those practices over time. So, for example, when I started my business, I was very transactional. I thought that's the way you start a business. I would kind of hoard my contacts. I wouldn't give out advice freely. I thought I was in a knife fight with the competition. And that's the way I built my business. At a certain point, it plateaued and I got stuck. And I realized I need to do things a little bit differently and not be transactional. I had this approach of like, instead of always be closing, never be closing, right? And you're never closing. All you're doing is building relationships with clients, people you work with, your peers. And that becomes your network, and that breeds success. And so I look at every pitch, every whether I win or not, it is building relationships, and I play the long game, and I don't let those relationships drop to zero. I keep those relationships up. Who knows what they might blossom in the future, but don't go from win to loss to win to loss to win to loss and make it transactional. It has to be much bigger picture, and you have to be thinking long game, not short-term transactions. And really, I had to practice that because it wasn't in my nature to do that. It was in my nature to go from a win, a loss, a win. I had to go from, these are all relationships, and I'm playing the long game with the relationship. I had to practice that. Everything is a practice. And when I practiced it, and that's good advice. See, that's advice that I took in the head, heart, and stomach. And everything you do, it becomes habitual if you do it regularly over time. And that's how I changed. And then my business blew up because I played the long game. I made it about the network and the connections. I give advice freely. I give contacts freely because, you know, we're all out here to have everybody win. You know, it's not a zero-sum game.
Yeah, Dave, what's on your mind, you kinky kangaroo?
Well, the Jaguar nailed it. He nailed it.
I've seen kangaroos have sex. So
they do. Right? They're bouncy with it too, man. There's a lot of hop in that. But the Jaguar said something important there about consistency. But think about it in this realm, and this is why transactional business doesn't work in the long run, why it creates a thermometer or a ceiling for yourself. If you're in competition for business, then everybody becomes a competitor. Everybody becomes a comparison. And you're working in this zero-sum game that if I win, all of these other people have to lose. And in a value add game that Jason works in now, this long game, I always say work consistent, work smart, and work long. Why? Because if you're playing the relationship game, instead of everyone being a competitor in a scarce zero-sum game, everyone in my world of more than enough of the value add is adding value, meaning I am either a sponsor to everybody, meaning I know somebody that can help you, or I am a power sponsor of yours, meaning I personally can help you, and I, of course, know other people that can help you. But in the same realm, everyone that I work with, I collaborate in coordinated movement with, even the people that are vying for the same stages that I am, the same community I am, they become a sponsor of mine. Instead of trying to hurt me, damage me, diminish me, dissolve me, they're trying to find somebody that can help me. They're trying to help me themselves and find someone that can help me. I have every opportunity, as you know, Craig, every time I get a speaking engagement, the first question after I secure my stage is, who else do you need? Right? And then I'm listing out, say, hey, have you ever heard Craig Siegel speak? Have you heard Sharon Lecter speak? Have ever? And it's amazing how it reciprocates itself. Or even in business, when something doesn't work out, I had someone get into financial difficulties. I have a very inexpensive group coaching, as you know, and someone came to me and said, I need to cancel. I'm having trouble. I said, first of all, if you're having economic troubles, I'm not doing my job, right? My job is, if you're going to give me money every month to come into my group, then you shouldn't be having financial problems. So number one, stay in the group so we can get you out of the financial problems. How long have you been in the group? I want to refund that money for you. And it was like $600, right? And meanwhile, because of that, I had the best advertisement, the best marketing, the biggest power sponsor I've ever had, because I actually was thinking long way and taking accountability for what I promised for people. These are good examples for people to live in a value add word. You're here to appreciate what you have, give value to it, acknowledge it by giving it away, losing it, letting people steal it or manipulate it from you, but then asking for more. Create a community of sponsors and power sponsors. Create a community not of competition, but of collaborative, coordinated movement. And in the long run, exponentially, you'll end up where all three of us are today, in an abundant world of more than enough.
Oh man,
That was awesome.
I love the collaboration over competition. That's a good way to like summarize that and remember it. And I think playing the long game does have compound interest, and you don't know, and that sponsor idea, you don't know, you can't measure it precisely. You just know that it works and it comes back to you in spades over time.
That's it. Yeah. Bang. This was awesome, guys. Only negative I got going on is we don't have 10 hours to chat. I love you guys so much. Jason, let's catch up for a cup of coffee in Manhattan. Dave, we want to leave the audience with one final takeaway.
Hey, look, be kind to your future self in this realm of sponsorship and power sponsorship. In the world of non-competition, just do good deeds. Be a good person, be kind. And I promise you, you can't, I love Jason said, you can't measure it. So you just need to have faith that there's something out there more than enough of everything for everyone. If you have that faith, I promise you there will be more than enough of everything for everyone, and you'll live this extraordinary life. Thank you so much for having me. Jason, let's hook up as well. I get to Manhattan, so all three of us, we can go to Sarge's Deli or somewhere good like that.
No doubt, no doubt.
Also, I'm manifesting, Dave. I might see you sooner than later. So there's that.
There you go. Stay blessed.
Congrats on the show, by the way.
Yes.
Thank you. We'll have you back on.
See you guys.
Bye, guys. Too much fun. The Paradigm Shift episode 55 in the books. So much knowledge, so much wisdom, so much nuggets, a whole lot of sex animals, and more. Only on the Paradigm Shift. Chef Marshall in the house. See frogs. No big deal. Essie, everybody's out today. Woo! I think I lost my mind, or did I find it? See, now that's a paradigm shift. Jason, thank you so much for stopping by today. Unbelievable nuggets. And it's so true, guys. The long game and the compound interest and all that, absolutely priceless. And Big Bad Dave, like, please, my man, enough with the handsome sandwiches. It's making me look like a chump out here. Essie in house, no big deal. I love you guys. Rachie, Jesse, Monica, everybody's out today. Wow. Unbelievable stuff. Make the most of the rest of the day. And I'll leave you with this final deep nugget. Like, you all have a loved one out there that is no longer with us, right? What would they do for one more Saturday afternoon? Straight up, not to sound too deep, but put that perspective, and let's have a great, productive, purposeful, intentional rest of the day. Whatever that looks like for you. Let's make the most of every single second. Love you guys. I love you guys so much that it's concerning. So there's that. All right, guys. John Dolan House, no big deal. Have a good rest of the weekend, guys.